Is it visible now there? Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for joining. Nitya Mataji, welcome back. Hope you had a wonderful trip there. Okay, can you all see my screen now online?
Yes.
Wonderful. We'll start with the prayer and then I just want to show a quick video. Om Agyan, this is the prayer of gratitude. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri-rupam sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam tam sajivam Sadvaitam savadutam Parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham bande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Wonderful. I was just listening this video. I found it very beautiful. Let me share that. But before I do, just let me grab my glasses as well. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Breaking the comfort zone. This is really what life is about. How do you break that comfort zone? Well, let me tell you a story. Once there was an eagle on a branch, and there was a bird trainer, and he was trying to train the eagle to fly, and it wasn't flying. A man came by and he saw this kind of bewildered bird trainer, and the bird trainer said, "I've been trying for days to make it fly, but it doesn't fly." This person said, "Give me one day, I'll solve the problem." So the bird trainer left. This person was there for a day. The bird trainer came back after a day, and lo and behold, this eagle was flying. And the bird trainer looked at the person and said, "This eagle is flying. How do you manage it?" He said, "It was simple. I just broke the branch." And in that, he understood that sometimes you can't force yourself intellectually out of a comfort zone, but sometimes you just have to force yourself practically out of the comfort zone. And therefore, we need a few people in our life who lovingly break the branches and help us to realize, you know what, I can fly.
Why I shared this video, sometimes when we even whether it is in material life, you can apply in spiritual life as well as in material life. When the life goes with the flow, everything seems comfortable and we don't want to take any risk. We just want to live in our comfort zone. Like, honestly, I'm very grateful. In spite of this snow, you actually personally came, and I was just thinking about this thing. This is getting out of comfort zone. But this example is, I really like this person. For eagle to get out, he wouldn't learn flying unless the branch is cut. Now he has to be forced to fly. It has to be forced to fly. And sometimes the life situations are like that. We don't learn to fly, or we don't learn to get out of our comfort zone until that zone, or until we reach to a tipping point where, man, I have to do something, otherwise this is not going to go. Whether it is health, whether it is finance, or any of that stuff, there is a tipping point. I have to understand, man, I have to get out of it. A lot of people who gain weight, and all of a sudden you see them losing drastic amount of weight, because that's a tipping point. They realize, man, I have to do something about it. So that's what I wanted to share. Now, coming back to why it is in connection with this chapter, we have been talking about two kind of people. One is the yogi who is practicing in austerity, performing tapasya. And Krishna said, until you are purified sufficiently, don't go that route. So you be in that mode, whatever you are, based on the varna and ashram. There are four varna, there are four ashrams. What are four varnas? Brahmachari, Kshatriya, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasi. So these are four varnas. They are designed in such a nice way, based on the psychophysical nature of a person. One can get into one or the other. Now again, today most of the generation go on grasta. They don't go on directly vanaprastha or sannyas. Vanaprastha is basically for grasta, but someone who is moving from brahmachari to sannyas, because the current of the material world is so fast, not easy for a person who is taking a celibate life to continue that. And that's how the life is. So here Arjuna is being recommended to get out of the comfort zone. So with that, I want to start. Does anybody remember what verse we are starting on? 15.
Did only until 10, right, last time?
Second, I'll just double check here. Yeah, I had the notes here. Just give me 1 second. I didn't get chance to review that. Just give me 1 second. Just review that one, and accordingly. Yeah, I my understanding is also 13. Let's see. You can see it 13. Okay. Yeah. So we covered till 12, and we are starting 13. Thank you. Wonderful. I'm going to change my screen, and then yes. Now you should be able to see the PowerPoint there. So let's go and read text 13. First, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
So we'll recite text 13. Yajnasishtasena santo
यज्ञशिष्टाशिना सन्तो
muchyante sarvakilbisaha
मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषः
bhunjate te tva agam papa
भुञ्जते तत्त्वगं पापा
ye gachanti atmakaranat.
ये पच्यन्ति आत्मकारणात्
Thank you. Translation, please.
The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment verily eat only sin.
Ah, beautiful. We partially covered this aspect last week. If you remember, I was emphasizing on why whatever we cook, we have to offer it to God. And we gave that reason because that's the karma phala. We performing any duty, whether going to work or whatever way we earn the money. If we use it for our directly own sense gratification, then we are not offering to God, because that is gratitude. God has given me something and I'm paying it back. Right? So that's what we talked about. So when we see from this verse 3, verse 13, chapter 3, specifically talking about an important aspect of our lifestyle, when we talk about practical application of Bhagavad Gita and modern world, Because the challenge is that whatever I'm going to get out of it, it is tinged with some kind of sin. For an example, if I'm bringing something, whether that is some way, not a legit way to get that, whether this is money, whether those are the foods which we are getting from outside, if it is connected to any of that activity, and that's also the output of our karma, if it is not offered to God, we get sin. Now one may say, what's a big deal? Sin, anyhow, I incur so many sin. I give an example about Dhritarashtra, that he had to wait for so many lifetimes to get the 100 sons and see his 100 sons being dead in front of his eyes. We have no idea what is the repercussion of whatever we do. If we know it, for an example, there was a concept people brought in, and I don't know, again, I don't want to get into whether how much is true, that don't microwave the food, that brings cancer. So immediately you understand there are certain people who know what it is actually to receive cancer. They are like, I don't want to touch microwave. But some people who knows it, I'll just do it. So sometimes, again, coming back to the video with the comfort zone, when we see the repercussion, what happens when I do A, what the result is equivalent to that, then we are careful. I don't want to touch this piece. But there are certain people who still want to do it and they want to go through. And there are 3 classes of learning which we talked about. The first class of learning is you heard it, I will not do it. Second class of learning is I heard it, but I want to see it. And then I want to believe it. Seeing is believing for such people. I want to see someone suffering with this, then I'll not me, someone else. And third type of learning is that I heard, I saw, but I'll still do it because I want to experience it. Right? So that is what Krishna is talking about in this verse, that one has to be careful. And there is a link between 12, 13 and 12 and 13 which is mentioned here. So Arjuna could not think, I don't need yajna. Demigods are opulent necessity of life, nor must I perform yajnas to live. I'll go to the forest and live by begging, which means I have nothing to do. And that's where Krishna says, I won't take from demigods, so I won't be sinful by not offering yajnas to them. Now, can I do that? Thinking that I will not take anything from demigod? We spoke about that last week. Anything in the material world is provided by devatas or demigods. Whether it is sun, even if I don't want, but I'm getting sun, and I don't know how much nourishment I'm getting for sunlight. But I was just talking to a person who actually came to do the vent cleaning. American guy. I thought it just me thinking without sun. He said, oh, sun is great because if sun is not there, we go mad. And I'm like, yeah, that affects the psychophysical nature of people. Based on the weather, you behave in a certain way because that has the power to actually do that. And presence of sun changes whole game. You feel dynamic, you feel energized if everything is okay from that perspective. So Arjuna is saying, oh, I will not need anything from demigod, which is not true. And this is what it mentioned. Not only won't be a thief, so I won't be sinful by not offering yajna to them. Not only won't be a thief, but I won't take part in the ghastly sinful warfare because he doesn't want to kill. And what does Krishna replies in next verse, which is 14 number verse, what does it say? Especially wants Arjuna that even in the forest, all food is nurtured by rain coming from demigod. Every part of our life is dependence. Nobody can say I am not dependent on anyone, or I can't say I'm independent. For an example, for you to come from home to here, you need a car. Or even if you don't have a car, you need a lift or whatever it is. You need someone to be dependent on. And it's a reality of life. If we say we are independent, nobody can say I'm independent. For everything, I'm dependent. For breathing, I'm dependent on air. Oxygen has to be there. When I'm thirsty, I'm dependent on water. When I'm hungry, I'm dependent on food. So whole life is designed in such a way we are always dependent on one or the other, each other. And because there is all the clothes, the chair, everything. You think about everything. Like I was just hearing today's class, which was talking about what do we learn from Mother Earth? Today, if our cars are driven, whether it is electric, because of Mother Earth, right? If our houses are made because of Mother Earth, where is the shelter? Or forget about even houses, even if you say in the forest, but you need a base. Where do you stand? Right now, we are standing or sitting on earth. So that is an important part which Krishna is talking about, that ultimately you are dependent, and there you cannot avoid the obligation to perform sacrifice born of prescribed duty. Now there is a slight shift in gear which is happening subtly, and you will observe that now. So what you see in text 13, the devotees, what they do is they perform yajna. And what are the four kind of yagnas in especially today's world? Shravanam, which means hearing. Kirtana means performing, singing or performing, reciting Bhagavad Gita shloka, which you are doing. Smaranam, remembering God. And the last one is Archanam, which is offering prayers to God. So this is what we are offering, a yajna to Lord Vishnu. And this is one aspect on the top, your yellow. You are with me so far? And now on the red, which is people who are not performing devotional service. What is their path? So what they do is, when I say non-devotees, they are not connected to Krishna. So keep it that way. They prepare food for personal enjoyment, right? And what is the problem with that? They incur sin because there is no demigods involved here. There is no yajna involved there. So they are considered to be thief. They can never be happy. One may say, oh, I can see them happy. Everything in our life has a point, has a so our life is actually, if you see the whole timeline of our life, these are just nothing but the dots, xy coordinate. And at a certain point of time, it apparently looks like this person is going better or doing better than me, though he is not practicing God conscious, but what is coming on his way, nobody can say. Like when you go to hospital, like my daughter raised an interesting question one day. She said, I only see devotees suffering. I don't see material. When I go to school, I see people, their life is going great. What is I said, when you go to hospital, how many of you see you are non-practicing devotional service versus how many you see devotees practicing? Point is, when we see people around us whom we know, they are following a particular cult which is connection. So you can only see that world. You're not seeing the external world otherwise, unless you go to hospital or certain places where crematorium or certain places where other people are dying as well. But because of our narrower vision, we are connected to a certain community. We can only see things happening in that. But that's not the end of the entire world there. And that's the point which is being brought in here. So with that, purport Srila Prabhupada is specifically talking about santas, means devotees, who are always in love with God. So different kind of yajna, we talked about Shravanam Kirtanam. Benefits is freedom from sinful reaction. Very interestingly, there are parts which are mentioned here. One is, if you are not practicing devotional service, you have to offer the fruits to demigods. You have to perform the yajna. It's mandatory. Let me put it that way. It must has to be done, right? Or another part is, when you perform devotional service, like right now we are reading Bhagavad Gita, studying Bhagavad Gita, that's devotional service. If you're doing that, you don't need to do any of that stuff. Because, and I'll tell you, one may say, oh, why there is an excuse here? Why not excuse here? So when you perform the yajna, you're offering the fruits of your activity to demigods. But demigods are not the government, right? They are in charge of the government. So what they do is, they offer it to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu offers them their share. In our term, we call it as commission. You can put it that way. So I get my share, and ultimately, because he is the boss, I am supposed to pay him. So that's what happens. Now, what devotees do when we are performing Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavad Gita, study, chanting Krishna's name, whom are we approaching directly? We are approaching Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu himself, which means we are offering our sacrifices of time, our energy, our strength, and our contemplation, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. Right now we are doing Vishnu Smaranam while we are reading Bhagavad Gita. We are offering the fruit to them. And devatas are all automatically being provided the sufficient food. Not that they need the food to be satisfied. The yajna has to be offered. And who is a yajna purusha? It's a Lord Vishnu. You're with me so far? Right? So how devotees are freed from sinful reaction? Because they eat food first offered in sacrifice. So what is our sacrifice? We talked about Sankirtan Yajna, which is basically we are doing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. And whatever is being cooked, we are offering to Lord Vishnu. That's how blissfully we are getting away with cycle of birth and death. Here, it's a very painful process. We give so many examples about Vishwamitra Muni and all. They have to leave everything. They have to go to the forest. And still, they cannot run away from their duties. They have to offer the fruit. Here, I'm comfortably sitting at my home, provided I can work wherever I want. I can eat whatever pizza, pasta I want. Just by offering to Lord Vishnu, I can make it simply. And that's the important part which is being spoken here. So fate of those who prepare food for their own self, unfortunately, they are thieves. And we will also be thief if we are not offering to Lord Vishnu. And the result is sin. And definitely when the results of sin comes, we cannot be happy. When the health is not good, when financial situation is not good, right? Difficult, like you just mentioned about your son. Very difficult, right? Isn't it very difficult to live? He was in California, is that right?
Yeah, he used to go there and come.
Difficult actually, being without the job mentally and physically. So imagine if our health is not good, our other situations in our life is not good, very difficult to practice devotional service. That's why in Hindi it is said, Sukh mein sumran sab kare, dukh mein kare na koi. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dukh ulta.
Means,
Sumran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. So it should be opposite. Dukh mein means when you are in misery, then you remember God. But when things are going happy, I don't want to great, everything is going well. But actually, ideally, when I am comfortable, when my health is good, at the time I should give my maximum time to Krishna consciousness, because that will give me the energy to handle the situation when they come rough. There was a person, God came to him and asked him to move the rock. Push the rock, sorry. Let me put it this way. So maybe if I'm not using the push the rock. So this was a heavy boulder actually. So this person kept trying, kept trying, kept trying. So Lord came after 1 month and he said, so everything okay? He said, Are you asked me to move this boulder. I couldn't move a single piece altogether. So you said to move it there. I can't even move a couple of inches from here. He said, have you noticed your biceps now? You build muscles while moving that. I didn't actually ask you while pushing that. I didn't ask you to move. I asked you to push. So you gain the energy. Similar way, when we perform devotional service, it gives us the mental strength. It gives us a strength when we go through difficult time. We can face those difficult times, because trust me, when things don't go on our way, extremely difficult, our brain stops working. And this is an example of Arjuna. He is a great Mahabhagavad. He's very great soul actually, powerful soul. But he's like, it's a typical situation. I don't know what has to be done. And this is what Bhagavad Gita is laid out. It's an everyday's activity, not that for Krishna. So that is what is being mentioned in 13. Can we go ahead and read the verse 14? Anad bhavati bhutani
अनाद् भवति भूतानि
parjanyad anna sambhavaha
पार्जन्यादन् सम्भवः
yajnad bhavati parjanyo
यज्ञा भवति पार्जन्यो
yajna karma samudbhava.
यज्ञकर्म समुद्भव
Translate please.
All living bodies subsist on food grains, which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by performance of yajna, sacrifice, and yajna is born of prescribed duties.
Very nice. So you see on this picture which is shown on the top, what is the outcome on the leftmost side? We get food or prasadam actually, to be specific, because we are offering to God now. Where is that coming from? It is coming from the grain. Where is the grain comes from? It comes from rain. And where is the rain comes from? That comes from yajna. Now one may say, I had this question and I briefly shared that. I don't see people performing yajna today. So how do we understand? Right now, whatever is the outcome coming, it is based on those 5 to 10% people who are performing sacrifice or performing yajna. The 90% of the people are driving benefit out of that. That's why there is a scarcity. And why this yajna has to be performed? That has to be done by prescribed duties, which I mentioned about. Brahmana has a prescribed duty. Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, all of 4 of them have a prescribed duty. What they are supposed to do. Like Brahmanas are intellectual. They are supposed to study and guide other people how to practice devotional life, how to practice dharma. Kshatriyas are supposed to rule the world, making sure everything is aligned as per dharma. Vaishyas are supposed to make money so that they can serve the whole ecosystem. And Shudras are supposed to serve others. They should be working for others. And that's the situation. So now one may say, can you give an example about how it is there for devotional life? What is a prescribed duty for us? For us, it is reading Bhagavad Gita. Along other than our regular duty, what we are doing is everything is aligned with Krishna consciousness. So we are studying, we are offering. And what is a yajna? Harinam Sankirtan, which we are chanting Krishna's name, reciting Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's discussion. And what is the rain? Because when we offer this, and then we attain happiness in the form of food, which is actually prasad. Make sense? So if I go back to the purport, Prabhupada brings beautiful points. If I see from the left hand side, which is blue box, why there is no need of worship demigod? Prabhupada mentions demigod are only the appointment officers of material management. We briefly covered that. Vedas give sacrifice to satisfy these demigods to achieve all material supplies. Satisfying Krishna satisfy all the demigods who are like different limbs of the body. Therefore, there is no separate need to worship the devatas. Are you with me so far? We covered this point just few minutes back, right? And the second part is analogy of Krishna consciousness and antiseptic immunity. What is that? Prasadam gives immunity from all material reaction because it is not sinful. And it is like an antiseptic because sin is nothing but a disease. So you take vaccination. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopi Janala Bhagwan ki jai, Nitai Pati ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So what is vaccination for us? Vaccination for us is actually eating food which is offered to God in terms of becomes prasad. And what is the conclusion? Krishna consciousness sacrifice provides freedom from all past sins and immunizes against future reaction. What a amazing offering, that it relieves you from the difficulty or disease you have, and it promises that you will not have the disease in future either, which is what is being mentioned here. And what is see here, what is the danger of not accepting the food which is prasad? Such a person continues to increase the volume of sinful action. Imagine one human form of life out of 84 lakh species. And again, there is variety in human life based on the gradient. So it may not be all 83,009, whatever it is that. Human species of life is the only species which performs karma. Rest all species are only suffering the reactions of whatever has been accrued in human form of life. Why am I giving this? Imagine graphically just one thing, one birth which you get 50 or 70 years or 80 years or 100 years one get. One performs sufficient karma to suffer for 84 lakh species of life without even we realizing that. And that's why it's important what is coming in the future. And what is the rule of Sankirtan Yajna? For all eatables, we have to depend upon the production of field, which depends on rain. Rains are controlled by demigod, who are servants of Lord, and the Lord can be satisfied only by sacrifice. And what is the sacrifice for this age? It's a Sankirtan Yajna. Any comments or questions before we move to the next one?
Yeah, now I understand. The yajna, when we didn't have rains in villages, they do the yajna.
We do.
And it does help though. On the same day, next day, like there are, in a week, we used to get rain. It is just the practice.
It is true. Because it is pleasing devatas. When the devatas are not pleased, that's where the problem happens. So there is always struggle to please them. So many ways to please them. So there are various yajna which is mentioned in 4 Vedas. Very difficult. We don't even have a time to read those Vedas, how to identify what all activities I'm supposed to do. Here Bhagavad Gita is very simple. Perform Sankirtan Yajna, get out. Very simple. At our comfort zone, we can just do it. Of course, when I say comfort zone, in our comfortable location.
What I read was like today, these days we do the cloud seeding, right? The technology cloud seeding,
Seeding?
cloud seeding,
Uh-huh.
rains. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you've heard of
No,
it.
I haven't done.
Recently, Dubai tried, they overdid it and they got a huge amount of rain. So
Wow.
there is a
Even
big-
Dubai.
Yeah, because they don't get so much
Yeah,
rain,
yeah,
right? So they were working on the cloud seeding thing, and something went on. They overdid it, and I think a year back they had a flash floods too, which never happened.
Yeah, I know.
So apparently, all these yagnas, there is a technology where it has that scientific technology of doing the cloud seeding. So that's why, like in olden days, when there used to be drought or something,
Yeah.
they used to do. But it's not as simple as just you burn the fire or something.
Yeah.
There is some technology that we
Yes.
don't know.
Yes.
So that's what
Very
it is
true.
all about.
Very beautiful. Yes. Very important. It's the metered way of handling natural things versus, just things. Very good point. Thank you. Keep adding those points.
Nature giving rain is natural compared to people doing the rain seeding. Rain seeding, even in Chennai about 40 years back,
Mm.
M.G. Ramarao has done it.
Mm.
It just devastated the whole city actually. Same thing happened in Dubai last year. It's same thing they tried doing it, just going and disturbing the clouds.
You need to know where to what
So
to do.
it just messed up. Actually, they had like 3-4 feet of water in the streets, and it just messed up the
Wow.
whole Dubai. Yeah.
I think the way we talk about the yajnas and praying to demigods, like giving offering or being grateful. I mean, as you said, I think we are the only species who only consumes. We don't give back anything. Maybe carbon dioxide we exhale that the trees use.
Yeah.
Other than that, we don't.
Junk.
We absolutely don't contribute at all.
Yeah.
So when you are taking so much, like for instance, to live, you're going to cut down the forest and then build your own house. But how can you make it better? So you plant more trees. That way, whatever you're taking, you're giving it back.
Very beautiful.
Right? So I think that's where all the climate crisis,
Yes.
global climate crisis that we are facing. Right? We've been taking. We are not giving back.
Very beautiful.
We're not thinking about, what should we do in return to have a balanced ecosystem.
That's why I just on that point when I mentioned about my spiritual master, I remember I shared that one of the environment minister, she approached him. Did I share that at the airport? My spiritual master was there. Maybe I'll share if you remember. Then you stop me there. So he was at the airport. He finished Vrindavan Yatra. We go for pilgrimage every year, and he was at Delhi airport to go back to Mumbai. So environment minister came there, and she asked him, "What are you guys, you swamis? You're wearing these robes. What are you doing for environment?" Did I say that? No.
I think
Okay. Okay. So feel free to just stop me there. What are you doing for the environment? And my spiritual master said, "You spend millions of rupees in India to actually clean up Yamuna and clean up these rivers, clean up that ecology. What happens after some year? Again, it becomes polluted. Why it becomes polluted? Because the pollution is inside the ecology of the heart. Until that is cleaned up, the same people will perform same activities again. And that is why we need spirituality in life, which actually clear up the ecology of our heart. We understand when our ecology of our heart is clean, no, brought up a very good point. When you keep take the ecology of a heart is clean, no, it makes you realize, hey, what am I giving back? And at that time, you actually live for others, live for giving back what I have received so far. Otherwise, if the ecology is not clear, we can't even see with our eyes that we are only taking. And that's an important aspect of spirituality. What spirituality has to offer is that clear the ecology of our heart. And that not only solves the problem about these trees and all that stuff, but there is so many wars, there is so much of it's a very what is coming right now is much more chaotic than what is going to happen. It is sad the amount of damage which AI is going to do. Within 5 years, it will be able to make us progress like we did for last 100 years. So the challenge is that there is certain amount of ability we have to take care of the changes. But if it happens with such a large speed, like you said, I never have a rain and all of a sudden it rains. Or in Texas, it never snows and all of a sudden it snows. Then you can't know how to ride. And that's the problem. We need to understand how to bridge that gap. So it's very chaotic today. If we don't take it seriously, at least it is a problem for us. What to talk about others, and that's an important part which we wanted to cover. So we will read text 15 all aligned. Okay. Karma brahmodabhavam vidhi
कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं
विद्धि
विद्धि
brahmakshara samudbhavam
ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवं
ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवम्
tasmat sarvagatam brahma
तस्मात्
तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म
nitvam Nitvam vajne pratishtitam.
नित्यं
नित्यं
यज्ञे
यज्ञे
प्रतिष्ठितं
प्रतिष्ठितम्
Translation, please.
Regulated activities are prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas are directly manifested from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Consequently, the all-pervading transcendence is, is eternally situated in acts of sacrifice.
One may say, why should I follow what you are saying? How do I believe that what your philosophy is true or wrong? So then the answer is this comes, whatever we are speaking, it comes from Vedas. How do I trust Vedas? Why not other books? Because Vedas are the speech of God. Vedas are written by God. Vyasdev himself wrote that. So what is the difference between any mundane scriptures versus, mundane books versus scriptures? Very interesting, right? Behind both these, there is an author. You agree? Behind Vedas, there is an author. Behind books, also, there is an author. What's the difference between a common man and what is the difference between a common man and God? The difference between a common man or common woman and God, the difference is that there is tendency to make mistakes. Right? We gave an example about I remember some other example, but when you gave the Dubai example, tendency to commit mistakes. I feel I'm smart, I will figure it out. I need rain, but I still commit mistakes. So that is tendency to commit mistakes. They said petrol is going to be gas in here is going to be gone in some time. Let's bring in electric car. What happened with the electric car? The batteries are going to die. We need to actually recycle them, but we can't recycle. So find out the place where they have to be recycled. Oh, that's also a problem. Let's do hybrid now. You understand there is tendency to commit mistakes. Another one is there is tendency to cheat. There is always there is an asterisk mark behind everything. I will only tell based on my information. What is the asterisk clause? I will not tell you. There is always a disclaimer on anything you do, right? If you see from previous times, we would not have a cars, we have bullock carts, and we would use the animals. So we respect, there is a dependency on animals. That is gone, we brought in car. So we were earlier living close to the house, we were working close to the house, being very close to the house. Even afternoon, people will come home, eat lunch, and spend time with family. Not that a son or child has to wait until the father and mother comes to home in the evening. We said, okay, now we need car, which means now the distance has increased. Now your work, you have to go 1 hour, Hare Krishna. You have to go 1 hour far, minimum, and you do that. Some of them even have to fly, go and work at some other places and do that. So did it create a benefit or it created a problem? A problem, because now with the vehicle you also have pollution. Now also you have to take care of auto insurance. You have to take care of other insurances to take care of it. You see how we create conflict in this world. Like if you go for auto insurance, if you work in the domain, oh my goodness, there is a huge amount of rules behind what has to be done. Why make it complicated? So tendency to cheat, tendency to commit mistakes, and tendency to be illusion. What is tendency to be illusion? When I mirage, you know the word of mirage, that it feels like there is water, but there is no water. And this is just one example. There would be tons actually. Based on our perception, we see things in a certain way, but that's not true. Like certain leaders today, they think our world is the problem. Whatever problems are happening in this world are because of population. Very interesting perception. So population is the problem. Let's reduce the population. And how do we do it? How do we do it? We bring diseases. We bring certain technology elements. I don't want to be explicit here. Things go online. We will bring technology in such a way so that people depend on technology rather than technology depend on people. That way they become slave of us. and they will fire people from the jobs. Because we need robots. Why do we need men? Or why do we need women to take care of it? Even in California, there are robots which are actually cook, or they are chef who are cooking the food for you. Great, you get consistency. Okay, if you order the pasta, it will taste the same for every plate. But we don't know what mistakes it could happen behind the scene. It is programmed in a certain way. And that's what the problem of this world is. So one has to understand life has to be simple enough to understand the purpose of life is not to build the house on the bridge. The bridge is to cross over and then get on the other side. So when we think about building bridges, like right now they are working on, oh, can we go to moon? Because we polluted enough here, we messed up so much here. Let's create another mess in moon. Why don't you fix it here? Or why don't you understand what did I do wrong here so that I don't do it again? We don't learn, the root is not clear. We will keep repeating the same mistakes. And that's why Vedas are important, because they are word of God. They don't have these issues which we are talking about here. If God is imperfect, the world cannot be perfect. If God is perfect, that's why Vedas are perfect. And if Vedas are perfect, the knowledge which comes is also perfect. And if I follow the perfect knowledge, if I follow the perfect person, I will attain perfection. But if I follow an imperfect person with the imperfect philosophy, the output cannot be perfection. I gave an example the other day. This is long back in IIT India. They realized the suicide ratio is going really high. I have another thing to speak about on this. So what they said, most of these people are actually hanging themselves on the fan. So they came together. Let's remove all the fans, put AC there. Now what happens with AC? Very simple. You don't have to get the rope. You don't have to put hang there. The high current, you put your hand, you're gone. What's the problem? The problem is the root is not clear. Why there is a problem? Why people are doing suicide? I was just talking to my mentor. She was coming from Bangalore to Pune in a train, and there was a gentleman or woman or gentle boy or girl. I don't know how to put it, but I'll come to the point. He did a transgender. So from a boy, he became a girl, and he goes to take the hormones. Because how perfectly God has designed. There are certain hormones for women, there are certain hormones for men. The psychology of men and women is completely different. There is a book called as Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. It's actually driven based off scripture, because there is a psychology. Not that they are imperfect or that is perfect, imperfect. Their psychology on certain situations, man is perfect, on certain situations, woman is perfect. And one has to know how to respect those things. If one does not know how to respect what is created by God, is a problem. So this guy or girl goes to change for hormones. And this person earns really nice. And he is a speaker on TED Talk. So this person goes to the colleges who are doing suicide today, and he gives a speech on why you shouldn't do suicide.
The IIT has a lot of suicides. Yeah.
Are Prabhu, this is now chaotic. When I was growing in my school, I never heard the concept of suicide, at least in student life. Now it's a chaotic situation because, and I mean, interesting, I was just thinking about, we had hardly two fields, to be honest. Engineering, medical on the science side, on the commerce side, you become CA. That's all. There is nothing beyond. Now there are millions of options. We were just talking the other day. So it should be more relaxed, right? But it's more chaotic right now. People are unclear what they want to do. Why? I was just shocked. And I don't know, this is just someone telling me, transgender in India? Why the heck would you do that? Root is not clear. For those many examples which I'm talking about, and one has to rely on Vedas, not the imperfect books created by imperfect people. And that's the crux. One has to understand why we should study Vedas. and it will give us that root problem. What is wrong here? Because coming back to the original point, I'm just taking. When I'm thinking about giving back to the world, and that's the whole idea, right? Makes sense? Can we move to the quickly purport? I think we covered this one.
Yeah, just quick comment that
Please.
you're talking about this advancement and all. I think evolution of civilization is good because that's how
Yes, yes.
you don't want. Even they say that even Einstein was using only 8% of his brain capacity.
Yeah.
So we are like maybe less than 0.0000, right? So you have so much capacity to use. So how do you develop that intelligence? Because of all things said, still human being is only intelligent as a species on the face of earth.
Yeah.
So you have to evolve. You have to think about what could make better for with the underlying current that what makes better lives for everybody. So you build something, so it should be for the goodness of the humanity. Yeah, you could gain a profit, but there is a line where that crosses, and that's where the greed.
Very
And
nice
that's
point.
exactly where the whole equation topples. So you
100%.
got to evolve. You got to think about new frontiers like going to moon or Mars. Yeah, we are all curious. How does it? What is out there? Right? It's all
Yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
But what do you make? You don't want to go to moon because there are minerals. You don't want to exploit them, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is exactly the reason why we want to go to Mars is because it has abundance lithium or something that could
Okay.
be
I don't know
used
that, yeah.
For batteries or for whatever for powering the earth, right? So what is your
That you bring the battery here and then again there is more problems. So why you are very good point. Evolvement is good.
but
It has to have in balance with harmony with nature, harmony with Vedas. So you use everything and connect with God in that connection. How can I be more connected to God? You give an example about intelligence. Here is a
actually
question.
all
Please.
the scientists, believe it or not, all the scientists they come at a stage in their life where they say, yeah, there is God. For them, God is
Yes.
like a power, some energy that we cannot explain.
Yeah.
It's beyond our perception. We have not attained it. So science is nothing but the things that you're proving that is getting close to the God.
Absolutely.
So
Very
that's
good
what
point. 100%. Very good point. We will read one. No, this is good. I want to respect you as well because I know we have some number of verses to cover. So I respect both the aspects. Please forgive me about that. So Baldev mentions sacrifices maintains the Lord's created being. That's the first part. The second is therefore very dear to Lord. Therefore, the Lord Brahma, being all pervading, Sarvagatam, is at all times situated in sacrifice. This means that by that sacrifice, one can attain him. Lakshmi is situated in the acts of diligence. Very connected to the point which you said. So, what is the practical application of 15th verse? Sacrifice or yajna is more than an elaborate ritual. Very important line. Like you said, it is not just putting a fire and putting that, much more than ritual. Adherence to one's duty is actually yajna. The Vedas prescribe various types of duty for different classes of beings. And by practicing the sacrifice, even with materialistic objective, last point, Joab, whatever you said, one comes in contact with transcendence. And this is because the Vedas directly emanate from Lord. We discussed that. So sacrifice removes false ego, the sense of self-proprietorship. I am dependent. That's the line which I wanted to bring in. One can perceive transcendence to the extent that one partakes of sacrifice. The spiritual life can be seen as a varying degree of sacrifice for a transcendental cause. It starts with materialistic performing yajna to achieve pious sense gratification, but the culmination of sacrifice is the life of a pure devotee with pure sacrifice. It uncontaminated. Right? Makes sense? No GMO stuff. So that's what we covered. And these are the 3 points, which is yajnartha karma, need of the Vedas, and omnipotence of the Lord. So if I'm just going to read the yellow line, if we have to work for satisfaction of Yajna Purusha, which is Lord Vishnu, then we must find out the direction of work in Brahman or the transcendental Vedas. Just like one has to work in ordinary life by direction of the state or government, one similarly has to work under the direction of supreme state of Lord. And that's what Bhagavad Gita is all about. And one can perform through each of their senses the action of all other senses. That's omnipotence. So I will skip this one. Let's come to verse 16. Can we do that or should we chant one round? Okay. Evam pravartitam chakram
एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं
नानुवर्तायति हरि sorry नानुवर्तायति हयः
नानुवर्तयति यः
अगायुरिन्द्रिया इन्द्रिया रामो
अगायुरिन्द्रिया रामो
मोगं पार्थ स जीवति.
मोगं पार्थ स जीवति.
Can we have translation please?
My dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin.
Yeah.
Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain.
My goodness, is very straightforward slab to actually talk about. Without following the Vedic prescriptions, selfish activities simply take one to the darkness. Thus, one leads a life of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of senses, such as a person living in vain. And what is the focus of learning for 3.16 is condemn the memory philosophy of work very hard and enjoy sense gratification. That's not what Bhagavad Gita talks about. A lot of people just drive that work is worship. Stupid. Nowhere Bhagavan says that work is worship. It's one part of it, but then they have to understand the other aspect. They just took random words from somewhere and then preach that philosophy, which is being defeated here. The cycle of performing yajna is absolutely necessary. Yajna is important for happiness in this world. Also, it helps one in spiritual elevation, which is the purpose of human life. Not only your present tense is covered, but even your future tense is also covered. And yajna processes gradually purifies one to bring to platform of Krishna consciousness, because when you perform yajna, there is the consciousness that I am dependent. When you realize I'm dependent, you don't work on your false ego. You realize I'm dependent on so and so person, and you work in conjunction or cooperating with that person. And when you work in cooperating with that person, they award you certain intelligence which you brought in to understand what is the deeper aspect of life. The mind, the fine tissues of memory or intelligence will not grow until we understand there is dependence. When we understand the psychology of dependence, we try to dovetail our life in such a way to be a cooperator rather than competitor. Today, the whole world is talking about how to compete. School, compete. College, compete. Countries, compete. There is no cooperation here. And that's where the problem is. When there is competition, there is an involvement of ego. And when involvement of ego is there, no one wants to take a defeat. And that's why these wars are happening. Nobody can say, oh, I am most powerful. There is certain damage going to happen to you also when you get into warfare. When the countries are attacking each other, what are you seeing the result? Not that you are spared with anything. You also have to suffer those. And why? To prove out the ego. Why do we get on that? Because there is competition mode. If you become the cooperator there, then there is no problem like that. Even at work, 5 team members are there in a company, in a team. They can work cooperatively and achieve much higher goals versus thinking about we are competitors to each other. Then that creates an unhealthy competition. Make sense? So that is what we covered. So just quickly summarize this one. Therefore, indirectly, it is the practice of Krishna consciousness. If by performing yajna one does not come to Krishna conscious, such principles are counted as moral codes. Yudhishthira Maharaj didn't want to say a lie. It is said Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot would not touch the earth. And Krishna told him, you tell Ashwadama dead. He did not say that because based on the moral codes, I should not lie. So people, that they also manipulated. He said because Yudhishthira Maharaj told a lie, that's why the chariot touched the earth.
He
Actually,
had to say Ashwatthama.
the elephant. Yeah.
He says Kuja something.
Yes,
something.
Sanskrit,
And
yes.
then at that time, I think Krishna blows a call or something happens.
So it's hidden. The second part is, but the that his chariot touched the floor because he told a lie. But the Vedic scripture says because he hesitated to say a lie, that's why the chariot touched the earth. He was initially not well because he never spoke a lie. And that's an important code. So, which is being, it will just remain a moral code if it is not in connection with Veda. So, one should not therefore limit the progress only to the point of moral code, should transcend them to attain Krishna consciousness. There are modes of nature, which is ignorance, lower, passion up, and then goodness. When you talk about moral codes, it's coming to goodness. But goodness does not make you go to spiritual world. It just gives you better facilities in next life. So moral codes are not sufficient. Like a lot of people I know, some of them, they say, oh, I will be nice to everyone. That is God consciousness. I will be good to everyone and I will not create any nonsense in this world. Very nice. I'm not denying about that you shouldn't do that. But where does it take me? Again, another birth. At most, you can go and take the birth of Lord Brahma. Don't have a single sin for 100 lifetimes. Because if you don't have a sin, then you take another human form of life, upgraded version, upgraded version, upgraded version, like iPhone 16, 17, or whatever you call. Ultimately, after 100 birth, you can achieve the birth of Brahma. Okay, what happens after that? Okay, I will live for millions of years. What after that? Even Brahma has to run away when there are problems. Even Brahma has to handle all children problems. So I'm not out of this. So why do I actually hanker for something which is not going to get me out of cycle of birth and death? And that's where the transcendence is needed. Right? So what is the nature's law of human life? Human life is specifically meant for self-realization in either of three ways, which is karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. And what are the exceptions? No necessity to rigidly follow the prescribed yajna for those transcendental who are above vice and virtue. But those engaged in sense gratification require purification of performance of yajna. Our problem is second, that's why we have to perform the yajna. And we will talk about another concept of nishkama karma yoga. But the next one, which is going to be from 17 to 30, is be detached yet dutiful for setting example. This is the section which is going to cover nishkama karma yoga. All aligned? Was it too much?
No, good.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. Hare Krishna, online, everything okay? You all are still with me? Nobody's sleeping?
No,
Yeah, all good.
Nobody's looking for Tylenol?
no.
Okay, great. I'm
No,
happy.
no.
I'm happy. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shrikant Prabhu.
No, no, just saying we were listening.
Thank you. I know this sometimes I just want to make sure how nicely I can convey that. So please forgive me for my shortcoming. Someone was saying something. Was it Nitya Mataji? You were adding something?
No, no, all good. I'm good.
All good. Okay. So we end here. Thank you so much for your kind attention. We will chant one round if everyone is okay. I know it's 5:03. Is that okay? We will chant because since last few weeks we have been missing. So I'm going to stop streaming and then we can chant one round. Thank you so much. La Prabhupada.